I literally changed the angle for no reason. I thought something was going to work, and it didn't. So, if you know anything about me, you know that I like ranting. And if you know anything about me, you know I'm on Tumblr all the time. So what do? I do Tumblr ranting. Especially when people tick me off. This is an adapted Tumblr rant that was designed for Tumblr, but I'm going to share with everyone. Okay, so, there's this person, like, I have the post up here, and they're like, why do people who use made-up genders try to call other people transphobic? How does one not understand that making gender a joke does whatever? Being a transphobe. And so, this makes me irritated, because, why do cis people and true scum trans people who believe you have to pander to cis ideology or be this right type of trans to be trans that always seem to forget that all genders are made up and lack thereof too? Sure, they're talking about color genders or whatever. So sure, colors, elements, and glitches are made-up genders, but so are male and female, man and woman. Why do true scum forget that transphobia is systematic oppression of trans people, and that trans people creating words to describe their experiences is not them oppressing themselves or others? How does one not understand that actual trans people does not mean trans people who agree with me, or trans people that I deem trans enough, but all trans people? How do you not get it that making gender a joke, or at least making a joke out of the way society perceives gender, is the only way some of us can bear existing in a world bent on destroying us? How can you blame trans people for their own oppression? It's like saying someone who boasts about having an iPhone on Facebook and gives thieves some sort of justification to steal it. It is literally insane. It's literally insane. All of this infighting amongst the trans community is what gives cis people a justification for hating us. Transphobic people point to trans people in general as the problem, but it's these true scum who promote this infighting that are the problem. If they react negatively towards someone using red as a gender or fae pronouns, then they're transphobic. It's that simple. Trans people already have a bad name, and you know it. You are being insensitive. Trans people can't really fetishize not being cis. It's just something we are. We aren't cis. If you want to call existence fetishization, that's your prerogative, but you're using the word wrong. Who is really saying everyone is trans? People are saying everyone could label their experiences as trans, but not everyone is trans. Those are different statements. And saying everyone theoretically could be trans is not saying everyone is trans and not fetishizing it. Why speak out on trans issues such as the lack of validation for noun self-pronouns when people like you speak it over us? Why don't you donate to a charity? Help people that are in tough emotional situations if you can, and treat trans people like human beings. Fun fact, nowhere in here does it say discuss intra-community issues as an outsider. Nowhere in here does it say impose your ideas of true trans on others, and it pretty clearly implies you shouldn't invalidate people. Treat me like a human being by respecting my gender, whether or not I meet your artificially constructed requirements. Also, Are you talking about characters or real people? Because imagining real people as trans can get into some fetishization issues, but trans people imagining characters as trans is seeking representation and validation and a good, fine thing to do. In fact, it is a healthy thing to do to seek representation. So why on earth shouldn't people play make-a-gender? Anyway, like, why should trans people be satisfied with the words cis people let us use? The more people use these words that make a mockery of us trans people, the more their usage becomes normalized, and, by extension, the more being trans becomes normalized. I want being trans to be a popularity trend. I want people to question their gender. Being trans isn't something secret I want to keep to myself. It sucks a lot, sure, but that's because there are so relatively few of us. It'd be much easier if there were more, so you should probably stop scaring people away. You say they are making a mockery of those that they are trying to defend? I say you are harassing and denying the existence of those you claim to defend. Fun fact, I may have posted that rant on Tumblr. And then someone sent me an ask, and I further elaborated. Because here's the thing, gender is a social construct, just like money and government control. It's real, just like money is real and governments are real, but it's not inherent. It exists because we've shaped the world in a way that lets it exist. So, if you mean gender is not made up, as gender is an inherent thing that everyone has an innate understanding of, you're wrong. But if you mean it's not made up, as in gender exists because it's a product of our world being run in this way, and people's gender is their reaction to living in a world where the idea of gender existing as an imposed construct, then I agree with you. Male and female are just words, and those words are made up just as all words are made up. You probably mean that those categories are not made up, but that's not true either. People sat down and arbitrarily decided what length separates a penis from a micropenis from a hypertrophic clitoris from a clitoris. Is there any reasoning for this? No. It's the same tissue. People decided that XX meant female and XY meant male. But what about XXY? XXYY? XYY? And X? What do those mean? At what level of testosterone does one stop being female and start being male? Biological realities exist, but biological gender doesn't. Do you know your chromosomes? Your hormone levels? What makes someone a male? Do they have the right chromosomes, hormone levels, dick length, hair presence, and lack of breasts, tissue? What is the right amount of these things for a male anyway? I don't know my chromosomes. I assume they're XX, but I might just have X. Is that why I'm agender? Or am I agender because that's the way who I am engages with a world in which gender is a thing? I'm dysphoric, sure, but it's social dysphoria. The intense feeling of wrongness, of culture shock, of I need to get to a toilet before I throw up on myself, comes not from my body, excluding periods, but from people calling me a girl, or female, or a young lady, or anything of that nature. Or from having to do so myself, whether verbally, or on paper, or on the internet. My breasts are agender breasts. My hair is agender hair. My vagina is an agender vagina. My uterus can go. But that's how I feel about it due to the way my mind engages with gender and myself. Sex and gender are synonymous. The only people who use sex and gender as separate identities are transphobes, pushing the born in the wrong body narrative onto everyone. That narrative is very true for some of us. Not all of us. Not me. And since this person who was responding was on anonymous, they didn't get the benefit of doubt. I assume they're cis, and if that's the case, then they don't have the right to tell me whether or not I'm trans. You don't have the right to police my community. Everybody has a gender unique to them. It's just most of them, here's the big thing. Everybody has a gender unique to them. It's just that most of them line up with pre-invented boxes. But that's like saying we should only paint with primary colors. There are other colors out there to discover and use. And if Monet had stuck to red, yellow, and blue, the world would be less beautiful, less varied, less creative. The same is true of genders. And that, my friends, is my Tumblr rant for my life. Is this informative? Like it? Inflammatory? Comment. Intriguing? Subscribe. Ask me questions for the next Just Asking Monday. Let's get to this time. Yeah, okay. On a serious note, I hope you have a great day.